Hey, Squirrel Bait. So we're reading Book of Enoch, chapter 17 and 18 today. And I was kind of flipping through it before I started. And there's a lot going on here. If you remember in chapter 16, God had passed his judgment on the Watchers. And so we know what he said was going to happen. And immediately after that, in chapter 17, an angel takes Enoch on basically this little tour, and so he sees a lot of things. And I think I think during the tour, like he sees a lot of stuff that he doesn't understand, and he tries his best to put it in words. And I think that's what's going on. But anyway, let's talk about it.
Now spring is a springin' and the flowers they're in bloom, but the sun never shines like when I spend my time with you. Hey, Squirrel Bait.
Angels took and brought me to a place in which those who were there were like flaming fire, and when they wished, they appeared as men. And they brought me to the place of darkness, and to a mountain, the point of whose summit reached to heaven. And I saw the places of the luminaries, and the treasuries of the stars, and of the thunder, and in the uttermost depths, where were a fiery bow and arrows in their quiver, and a fiery sword, and all the lightnings. And they took me to the living waters, and to the fire of the west, which receives every setting of the sun. And I came to a river of fire, in which the fire flows like water, and discharges itself into the great sea towards the west. I saw the great rivers, and came to the great river, and to the great darkness, and went to the place where no flesh walks. I saw the mountains of the darkness of winter, and the place whence all the waters of the deep flow. I saw the mouths of all the rivers of the earth, and the mouth of the deep. I saw the treasuries of all the winds. I saw how he had furnished with them the whole creation, and the firm foundations of the earth. And I saw the cornerstone of the earth. I saw the four winds which bear the firmament of the heaven. And I saw how the winds stretch out the vaults of heaven, and have their station between heaven and earth. These are the pillars of the heaven. I saw the winds of heaven which turn and bring the circumference of the sun, and all the stars to their settings. I saw the winds on the earth carrying the clouds. I saw the paths of the angels. I saw at the end of the earth the firmament of the heaven above, and I proceeded, and I saw a place which burns day and night, where there are 7 mountains of magnificent stones, 3 towards the east, and 3 towards the south. And as for those towards the east, was of colored stone, and one of pearl, and one of jacinth, and those towards the south of red stone. But the middle one reached to heaven like the throne of God of alabaster, and the summit of the throne was of sapphire. And I saw a flaming fire, and beyond these mountains is a region, the end of the great earth. There the heavens were completed. And I saw a deep abyss with columns of heavenly fire, and among them I saw columns of fire fall, which were beyond measure, alike towards the height and towards the depth. And beyond that abyss I saw a place which had no firmament of the heaven above, and no firmly founded earth beneath it. There was no water upon it, and no birds, but it was a waste and a horrible place. I saw there 7 stars like great burning mountains, and to me, when I inquired regarding them, the angel said, This place is the end of heaven and earth. This has become a prison for the stars and the host of heaven. And the stars which roll over the fire are they which have transgressed the commandment of the Lord in the beginning of their rising, because they did not come forth at their appointed times. And he was wroth with them, and bound them till the time when their guilt should be consummated for 10,000 years.
So as you can see from the reading, like I said, he goes a lot of places and he tries his best to describe a lot of things. And I'm not sure if he's trying to be poetic or if he's actually trying to describe what he's looking at. Like you see where he's describing like the storehouses of the lightning and the thunder, and he sees the great depths, and he sees, the uttermost depth, and where he sees a fiery bow and arrows and a quiver. Now, I don't know what he's talking about there. If he's talking about like a literal fiery bow, arrow, and quiver, or if he's trying to describe maybe like magma, like a volcano at the bottom of the ocean, where he sees like the shoots of, the magma coming up through the volcano, and maybe the quiver is the mantle. I'm not really sure. And again, he tries to describe more, like they take him to the end of the earth where the great fire takes the sun in the west. I don't know. There's just a lot of imagery in these chapters. The bit where he's standing in the west and he's talking about how, he sees, the fires and the desolate place where like no birds fly. But he sees 7 mountains, and he says they're of great stone, and he talks about, so I'm assuming the way he describes it in the book, he's facing west, and he says that he sees 7 mountains. There are 3 to the east, which would be directly behind him if he's facing west. And then 3 to the south, I believe. Let me look. Let's see. Yeah. So he finds the paths of the messengers. Oh yeah, so he talks about the winds that he sees that carries the planets and the sun, which is kind of interesting because when this book was written, because the planets and the sun are all moving through space, and so I don't know if he's actually describing solar winds there, which would be pretty darn interesting. Because like I said, considering when this was supposedly written, when did we figure it up? I'll have to look that up again, but we figured this up, that this was written a long time ago. And 2000 BC or something like that. And so if he's writing this down, trying to describe the movement of the planets and the stars through space using wind, that's pretty neat. And then he talks about how he can see the winds that carry the clouds. The winds of the earth that are carrying the clouds. And I saw the paths of the messengers. I saw at the end of the earth the expanse of the heavens above. And I proceeded and saw a place which burns day and night, where there are 7 mountains of magnificent stones. So now I'm assuming here, because he's talking about 7 mountains of magnificent stone. Now, he went from the earth, And now he's discussing the heavens. And I know that there are 8 planets. And so if he is on the earth and he's trying to describe 7 mountains of stone, I just wonder if he's not trying to describe the other planets. But he's facing west, I'm assuming, right? And so there's 3 towards his east, which would be directly behind him, and 3 towards the south, which would be to his left. And the thing about the planet theory is that I'm not really sure, because he describes them with color. And so as for those towards the east, 1 was of colored stone, 1 of pearl, and 1 of jacinth. Now, I'm not really sure what jacinth is. So if you'll give me just a second, I think I'm going to Google that just so that I can be accurate. All right. So according to Google, jacinth or hyacinth is a yellow-red to red-brown variety of zircon used as a gemstone. And it even says here on the Wikipedia that it's described in Exodus. So he's describing like a reddish brown or a yellowish red mountain. Okay, there's 7 mountains. As for those towards the east, the ones behind him, 1 was of colored stone. It doesn't say what color. 1 of pearl, and 1 of jacinth. So we have just a colored stone, like it doesn't give a specific color. But the other 2, pearl and reddish brown. And see, that sounds like it describes maybe Venus and Mercury, or not Venus and Mercury, but like maybe Venus and Mars. Not sure. But then he says the ones to the south, to his left, were of red stone. So he just, all the 3 to his south are red. But the middle one reached to the heavens like the throne of God of alabaster. And I'm pretty sure alabaster is white. And the summit of the throne was of sapphire. And so the middle one that he says reaches to the heavens was white and blue. That sounds like Earth. And so I think that he's trying to describe the solar system. Now, I could be miles and miles off, but I think that's what he's doing, is he's describing the solar system minus a planet, because we got 8 right now, right? So what do you got? Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Saturn, Jupiter, and Uranus. Is that right? I'm showing my ignorance here. I'm pretty sure there's 8 planets. And like at first I thought my theory might have been that he was standing on the Earth and he was seeing all the rest of the planets. But he's standing in the middle, or he's not even, he's just looking, and he sees 7. And so it does to me, in which, you know, if they have a circular orbit, maybe he's standing over the sun, because he talks about the place where the fire is constantly burning. So he might be just standing like over the sun in the center and describing the planets that he sees like orbiting the sun. I'm not really sure, but it's very interesting to me. And but anyway, he goes on and he talks about, let's see, I saw a flaming fire, and beyond these mountains is a region at the end of the great earth. There the heavens were completed, and I saw a deep abyss with columns of heavenly fire, and among them I saw columns of fire fall, which were beyond measure, alike towards the height and towards the depth. And beyond that abyss I saw a place which had no expanse of heavens above, and no firmly founded earth beneath it. There was no water in it, and no birds, but it was a waste and a horrible place. I saw 7 stars there like great burning mountains, and to me, when I inquired regarding them, the messenger said, "This place is the end of the heavens and earth. This has become a prison for the stars and the host of heavens. And the stars which roll over the fire are they which have transgressed the command of the Lord in the beginning of their rising, because they did not come out at their appointed times. And he was angry with them and bound them until the time when their guilt should be consummated for 10,000 years." That, if we're discussing heavenly bodies, that sounds like, what do they call that? The pillars of creation? That the Hubble telescope's taken photos of, and they're beautiful pictures, but that's basically how they describe the pillars of creation, is just this area where these stars are being created or held. I'm not really sure, but it looks like big columns of fire in the pictures, if I remember right. And so I'm not really sure if I'm right. I could be horribly, horribly wrong. But his little journey here, like I said, he starts off on the earth, and I'm wondering if he goes from the depths of the earth, like I said, the bow and arrows of fire with their quiver, if he's not talking about like the inner workings of like the mantle of the earth, but then he zooms out to this big overview and he sees these 7 mountains, he calls them. And so because you got to think, if this man writing it was from 4,000 years ago or further, like he probably has no concept of like what the view would be like from orbit. Like he probably has a good idea what the Earth looks like, but he probably has no real concept of like what the view would be like from space looking down. And so he's probably, if I were to guess, probably trying to his best to describe what he's seeing in this vision where this angel's taking him. Well, it doesn't even say it's a vision, it just says the angel took him. And so I really gotta wonder, but it's got my head scratching, that's for sure. But anyway, Squirrel Bait, I thought that was a very interesting read, and I wonder what you think about it. I want you to know that I love you and that I'm proud of you. And I hope that you have a wonderful day. But anyway, Squirrel Bait, I'll talk to you later. Bye.